LT, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, I can kick you guys off. Let me find my mouse here. I'm backstage again here at Recovering Addict. This is the SOAR podcast here every Saturday morning at 11. Today we have Stephanie. We met her at a sweat lodge. We had a great spiritual experience with her, and so now she's on the show. I'm going to let her introduce herself and let Dustin kick it off with some conversation. Welcome to the show, Steph.
Hi. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it. I was so impressed with you. You know, just telling our viewers, we took our group to a sweat lodge in Camas, and that's where I had met Stephanie, and she was impressive. She does this she's been doing it for how long?
Sweat lodges?
Yeah.
Oh, probably like 15 years.
Oh wow. How many times a month?
You know, we were doing them almost every weekend.
Right.
And then since the thing, we are down to like once, twice a month, if that.
Right.
So.
Since COVID.
Since COVID.
Yeah. You know, I was really apprehensive about the sweat lodge, you know, and then, you know, Tom came in and talked to us about it, and I got excited. You know, this program here, it's interesting. So we have this gym, and, you know, our philosophy is like orchestrating stress. So giving people an opportunity to experience stressful situations. So they come into the gym and like they're voluntarily putting themselves in a position where they get uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, and so then when we went up and did that sweat lodge, and I remember when it all shut. And they put the coals in, I started to panic. You know, I started feeling like I remember thinking like, dude, I want out. You know, I want out of this situation. Yep. I don't feel comfortable.
Nope.
And then, you know, without talking too much about like still in the sacredness of it, you know, but then I like engulfed it. And I just accepted it that I was there, and then I just started moving. You know, like
getting connected.
Yeah, like dude, it was crazy. And after that first session, you know, when we broke, and then I just settled in, and it's something that really helped me. Mm-hmm. I was going on a vacation with my son. The next day, we're going to Yellowstone for a week. Yeah, and you know, I've had a hard time since I got sober. I've had a hard time enjoying life.
Right.
Like my old hobbies, like fishing. I used to get I grew up fly fishing with my dad, you know, and then it took a point where I started taking pills when I got older to fish. Right. And I started partying around the fire, and then so now here I am with my son, and to be honest, it's been hard to get back into fishing because of the euphoria with the pills, and so in that thing I was really working on like, dude, I want to stay present this next trip with my son.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I was so impressed with what that sweat lodge did for me. You know, maybe you can talk about the spiritual side of it and your work in there, you know?
You know, so a sweat lodge, everything with Native American culture really is symbolic.
Right.
And so in doing a sweat lodge, we're purifying our soul. Right. And we're in the dark, we're connected to Mother Earth, we bring in those stones, and we make you uncomfortable just enough. Right. Just enough to break that barrier of where you get caught up on in your mind. Wow. It's really your mind. So like we say, if you think about the heat, you're going to be more hot. If you think about how uncomfortable, you're going to be more uncomfortable. Wow. So that's really a philosophy that we just apply for life. Right. Anything you think about, you are going to 10 times that in your life, because thoughts are like a prayer. They're powerful. Right. So that's why we tell you when you're in there and you're uncomfortable and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. I need to get out, to pray, ask for help, get humble. And that's really what we're trying to teach people in crawling in that space. You're in the dark. It's like going back in the womb. You know, ask for help. Be humble enough to get out of your mind the ego part that runs us and say, hey, I need help here. You know, I'm not okay. And we try to teach people that there, because I feel like when you're in the dark, no one can see you. And it's between you and, you know, Creator, Great Spirit, God, whatever you call your higher power. Right. When you make that connection in a place like that, especially for people in recovery. It's easier to come out and go, wow, I need help. Who can I call? Who is on my side for support? Like when you're in the lodge, you know, we all support each other. And I'm sure you saw that after we got going. It's like all of a sudden everybody's buddies. And
I felt like I knew them forever.
Right.
You know?
And that is the whole point of a lodge, is getting us reconnected to our roots, who we really are, our heart, creator, Mother Earth, and kind of living like that. You know, like you said, there's no fun in the things you used to do because you bring in the stuff that isn't good for you.
Yeah.
So it's shifting your mind and going, no, I can make this fun and be present. And that's interesting that you said that was your intention coming into the lodge, and how you noticed going on that trip, you know, where your triggers were, where that was coming up of like, oh, okay, I need to shift that. And it is your mindset. It is a mindset that you can do in shifting. And that's why bringing addicts into a lodge and just saying, just for a moment, it's a few hours, try this on and see, you know, how that shifts in this moment for you.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, you know, we do the similar thing here, right? So we train, you know, and we train in that gym, and it breaks down a wall. Like, so we're all sweating together. The workouts, you know, we train the body as a coordinated system in here. So, you know, with kettle, like, you know, it could be like the assault bike, you know, for 20 seconds, then we get on a kettlebell swing for 20 seconds and then 20 seconds. So, and your mind's sitting there saying, dude, this hurts. I want to quit, you know, and then, but we got 5 more rounds of it. Right. And then we all get done and we're talking around that bench, and then we go into our group, and we have this beautiful discussion that I don't believe would have happened if we didn't train first. Correct. You know, and so it's the same. Yes. It's similar. It's the same thing, because you're right with the sweat lodge. When I got done, I specifically remember, you know, when they opened the door and we were like in it was the really challenging round, the one that pushed me hard. It was the second. Yes. The second one, and I. And I remember the doors open, and I was like, dude, I gotta get out. and I remember you said, just chill out, just allow it to be a little more uncomfortable for a little longer. Yep. Don't be in a rush. It's gonna pass. And I remember thinking, dude, and I just chilled out.
You're like, no, it's not. Like, I'm dying here. What is this lady talking about? Yeah, a lot of people look at me, and I think what happens in there is the parts of us that no longer serve us die in there. Wow. And we are brought in with a new light or new idea of who we can be after persevering through something like that, you know. And it is difficult. It's a different experience for you than it is the person next to you or me. I mean, people look at me, yeah, but you've been doing this a long time. Doesn't mean I don't go in there and I'm not still doing work and praying and letting go, and you know, the same work you guys are doing. It's the same. We're all in there to pray and let go of those things that aren't serving us, so that we can have a different idea of like, oh my God, you know, maybe, just maybe, this could be different for me.
Life could be different.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a trip. You know, you brought up ego, you know. Yeah. Maybe we should talk about that.
Let's.
Well, and it's so connected to this disease, you know. You know, I have realized, you know, for me that's been my biggest problem. Yeah. You know, early recovery was like, oh, I'm special. You know, I'm different than everybody else. You know, I'm the only one that struggles this bad in my mind, you know, and so that's like, it seems like that's the theme for the substance abuser, this ego, and, you know, or, you know, our comparisons with other people. And so it seems like that sweat lodge, and just, if you work on it right, and if you learn to get uncomfortable and sit on it, can help you reduce that mindset.
Yes, it is. You know, I've been following Native American culture and spiritual ways for 20 plus years. I found it very, very early in life. I was about 17 years old. Right. And so it is taking away the judgment. Right. You're not better than anyone else. You know, the ego, Native American spirituality teaches you how to be humble. Right. And I don't think that's taught in very many places, how to humble yourself in your heart, to ask for help, to be like, yeah, I messed up and this is where I'm at, and kind of own what it is you're doing. And in a Native American spirituality, you're taught that it's your connection between yourself, creator, and to own your stuff, because you're the one really holding yourself back, and how do you become humble in that process? Right. And so a lot of their ceremonies are really about becoming humble. Wow. Like we crawl on our hands and knees. We're all sitting on the ground. Tom's not above you guys. I'm not above you guys. It's about being equal. We're all equal, and we're all here to support each other, hold each other up, be each other's cheerleaders. Right. And I think the ego comes in where it's like, hey, well, my story is worse than theirs, or vice versa. A lot of the times, in the Native American culture, I was taught, you don't know the full story. Right. You don't know the other side of that coin. You're only hearing this part, but there's a whole other side of a story, and then there's the truth. So there's always, two sides and then the truth. Yeah. So to be in that humble place and connected kind of takes you out of ego. It takes you out of that judgment, because you're self-checking yourself, constantly.
But yeah, and I cannot find any type of peace unless I'm in that humble state.
Right.
In the big book, it talks about, the resentments and the fears, the fears and resentments and that block us from feeling spiritual.
Right.
And that really, when I heard that really resonated with me, the driving around in my car, practicing what I'm going to say to somebody, like
getting primed and ready to just spew all over whoever.
And then, say you do it, say something to somebody that you had been practicing, it never comes out the way that you were going to say it.
And it's always worse. And then you feel like shit when you walk away. It was like, that was not, wait a minute.
Yeah. I'm so tired of that, and that's, now that I'm honest, that is what has led me back to pills time and time again, because your brain is so irritated, when you're in that mindset. Right. And for what, I'm mad because, like I had one yesterday, T-Mobile keeps billing me. They weren't supposed to bill me for like 4 months because I ended up trading my phone in or whatever. But they billed me the past 2 months. Right. And so right when that happened, I'm just pissed. Right. And practicing what I'm going to say to this guy when I go in there. I'm going to yell at him, young kid, little 20-year-old kid who just works
the shit out of him. He's going to quit after this. He's going to hate his life.
Right. And it's just, and then, I just got to go back to like, dude, just chill out. Go in there and talk to the kid and be
It's
kind.
That ego coming in. Right. And in Native American spirituality, it really, for me, it was stopping, because I always had to do the cleanup. It was like I always had to be like, oh, I messed up again. I'm sorry. Yeah. You get sick of doing that. Yeah. Even when you're sober, you get sick of doing that you start changing, and it's like, wait a minute. How do I want to walk in this world? Yeah. How do I want my vibration to be in this world? Wow. And that's where we're disconnected, is when we feel that rage and that hate and that resentment, we are not connected. No. We are not connected in our heart. We are not connected to spirit. So that's what drives us. And a lot of the times, I know for years, I couldn't buy that nanosecond that I needed to not go off the Richter. Right. And I think after years of praying and doing some of the ceremonies that we do, it really teaches you better buy yourself a second, because sometimes it's life or death, when you get in those situations where it's like, oh my God. So in Native American spirituality, I've learned to be more kind and patient and gentle with myself. We came here to have a human experience. Wow. So why are we judging ourselves on the human experience we're living here?
Right. How did you get into the Native American all this stuff you're talking about?
The culture? Very young, I met my first husband, and his parents were doing a lot of Native American things. Right. And, that was a crazy road. He was an alcoholic. I was an alcoholic. We were doing pills. We were both in it. Right. And when he left, I decided to stay a part of his family and really delve more into what this means.
Oh, wow.
And about 9, 10 years ago, I was invited to go to Sundance.
Right.
And that's a ceremony, that's a 5-day ceremony where you dance for 4 days with no food or water.
Wow.
And so I felt very compelled to do that. I knew that something wasn't working right in my life, and I had been on this spiritual journey in Native American culture. And so I decided to do that. And you don't just dance 1 year, you dance 4 years. It's a 4-year commitment, and there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. And a lot of it is sitting with yourself.
Wow.
I think that's where we get out of our own way, is when we learn to be with ourselves. You know, when we're using, it's because we can't be by ourselves or be with ourselves. And so in this process, I really learned how to be with myself and all my neurotic behaviors and,
Right.
you know, the weird things we do as humans.
Right.
And I did the 4 years. It was hell. My first 2 years
Wow.
was, I did think I was going to die at one
Like
point.
for the in the 4 days you felt like you were going to die.
Oh yeah,
It's just-
It was the first 2 years I danced here in Utah, which was up in Duchesne.
Right.
It was July 8th, so the hottest part of the year.
Wow.
I think one day I danced, it was 110.
Wow.
Bliss, ignorance is bliss, because when you don't know that and you're out in prayer, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. And that's what that teaches you to do,
Wow.
is to push your body beyond. It's kind of like the sweat lodge. You push your body and your mindset beyond what you think you can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the preparation when you talked about like going into that? Like
Going into Sundance? Oh, there's a
spiritual preparation,
yes.
and then is there a physical preparation?
Yeah, so the spiritual preparation is prior to going and dancing and making that commitment, you need to do what's called a vision quest. And that's 4 days on the mountain by yourself with
Right.
your chanupa. I don't know if we have
Right.
the chanupas out,
Right.
the pipe.
Right.
And so what you're doing is you're sitting on the mountain with Creator, your pipe, and yourself, and crying for a vision of should you dance, should you not. And someone will come and check on you, and you get a drink of water, but you're there for 4 days.
This is before you do it.
Before you dance,
Wow.
yes. So there is that preparation in getting connected, seeing the vision, sitting with yourself. Is this for you? Should you be doing this? And then you go and make that commitment to dance.
Wow.
And so you do that vision quest every year before the dance, because you need to sit with yourself and say, am I ready? Is this, give me a vision. It's vision quest because you're crying for a vision. You're asking Creator to come in and show you, what am I supposed to do?
Wow.
So it's intense. It's
That
not
sounds
for the
intense.
faint of heart. It's, when you sign up to do those things, I remember my second year, I was like, I'm really doing this again? Am I crazy? I really thought that, but I knew that there was something there for me. Changed my life. I've never been the same person. And I ended up dancing 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, you end up dancing longer because it just gets in your blood and your soul, and you're like, wow, this is incredible. You feel incredible.
I bet that changed you.
Yes.
Obviously, you were in some pain.
Yes.
To want to do that, to want to put yourself into that, right?
No, because when you decide to dance, so this is the way the natives believed. Back in the day, the natives would do this Sundance once a year.
Right.
And one warrior from each tribe would say, okay, I will go and suffer. I will take all the prayers for the people, and I will go and suffer. So it's not for me. The prayers are for the people. When you dance, they're for the people.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't do that for me. It wasn't to boast my ego or to say that I did that. I had a specific prayer for my family that I went and suffered for 4 days, for 4 years, to have that prayer answered.
Wow.
So yeah, Vision
That's
Quest is for
interesting.
you. Vision Quest is for your own suffering, for you to get connected. But the actual dance is really for the prayers of the people.
Wow.
Yes. So that's what makes it different.
But but it also changes you for the
Yes.
better in the long run
As a
because of
person.
that service you offer
Yes.
people.
And if you don't think anything, like everything under the sun will come up. I mean, I'm talking angry, all of it. Everything tries you during the dance, before the dance, while you're dancing. There's a lot of temptation in life, and
Yeah.
how strong are you in your prayer and your connection in life?
Wow.
And that's really what it comes down to. The later I come in my life, I'm like, wow, this is all about how connected are we? How
Wow.
connected are we to ourselves? How connected are we to Mother Earth and, Creator God? And how are we using this information in our life to better our lives, to better the people around us?
Wow, that is awesome. Is that your philosophy with recovery? And obviously you're saying life, that's your philosophy in life.
Yes, and in recovery, I think that if in recovery we can remember the places that we struggle and how hard it was.
Right.
That is where we get connected and move through those feelings, because you know what you don't want in that. So if you can really feel that, what's the opposite of what you don't want?
Right.
You're able to move through that and get on that other side of what you do want. We avoid our feelings. That's all what addiction is avoiding our feelings and avoiding sitting with the shitty things we think about ourselves,
Right.
And I just look at that and go, wow, if we could just sit for a moment like you do in the lodge and let all that come up and feel it, it doesn't run our lives anymore.
Right.
And like you said, you were able to shift that of, oh my God, I want to be more clear and present
Right.
with my son
Right.
and in life and in what I'm doing. That's really the key, is shifting your perception of being connected and how present do you want to be.
Right.
Because you can be disconnected and not present and not be an addict. I mean, there's so many things that
Right.
we're addicted to outside of drugs. And I think that's where we've got to look at, we're all addicts. How are we balancing our lives?
Yeah. I say that all the time. I'm thankful for my substance abuse. It's forced me to look at what you're talking about, and I see a lot of people who, and everyone's got their struggles, but maybe they weren't challenged enough to say, dude, I really got to watch how I act out in the world.
Right.
Because this is what's causing my problems.
Right.
So it's like, literally it's, waking up in the morning, trying to get connected, and then trying to live in a way that keeps me connected.
For me, I'll tell you how to do that.
Yeah.
Because I've learned some new techniques,
Right.
because I've struggled with that.
Right.
I wake up and I realize that's the most valuable part of my day. I'm getting just information in the morning. And your first thought really shapes the way your day is going to start.
Right.
So usually I wake up and I have a little 5-minute meditation where I just get connected. I just get grounded. I get connected. I get grounded. It's 5 minutes. Who doesn't have 5 minutes?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of these techniques I've been learning is more of just getting in your heart. I don't know if I did that in the lodge where we got in our heart center. And it's just a way to fill your heart and just get connected in there.
Right.
Make a few connections, make a few intentions, then get your day going.
Right.
I mean, you can do that with making coffee while
Right.
you're brushing your teeth.
Right.
So usually I do that. And then throughout the day, if you're feeling weird or disconnected, do it again. It's like, I think we forget that there are all sorts of triggers that are going to come up. Like, we're not completely healed and it's done. I don't care how much work you've done.
Right.
You're going to be healing till the day you take your last breath.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So how do we stay connected all day? I mean, I took this Buddha class last year, and, my theory was I got to make 20 minutes to meditate. I got to create time for this, create time for that. It's like, who the hell has, all this time
Right.
to be doing this? And I have found that it's a practice all day.
Yeah.
When you're feeling funky or weird, or when that hits you, that trigger hits you, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna lose my shit here.
Right.
That's really when you take a step back and go, okay, wait a minute, breathe. A lot of breath work, breathing,
Right.
and just getting connected, because that is where our mind and our heart are not lining up.
Right.
But it's practice. It's a lot of practice.
A lot of practice. it's so interesting you bringing this up. So I've been doing this thing where just lately, I see it, I'll go into an empty room, dude, and I get down on my knees and have a prayer. Like it's a 3-minute experience to have a quick prayer and I'm reading this book right now about like quality prayers, not just this, repetitive thing where it's like, dude, let the Spirit tell you what to pray for.
Right.
Not you. Just let it come in and then ask and see where that goes.
Right. And
you see
that's
what I'm
how
saying?
because that's how the lodge is for me. Like you said, oh, well, you said this. It's like, oh yeah,
Right.
I don't remember because I allow Spirit to move through me and be the conduit.
Right.
So I say what needs to be said.
Wow.
And when you're in tune like that in life, that's what happens. I mean, it was weird. I was just thinking about LT and you guys going, yeah, I should probably get a hold of them. And they text me. And that's how the magic works, is if you're intent and you're committed to your life, things just start lining up, It's because you're connected to Source. You're connected to God, And like you said, that 3-minute prayer with intention is more than probably 20 minutes of meditation or working out for 30 minutes,
Oh, yeah. It's been a game changer. Even like right before we came on this, I just was in the bathroom and I kind of just got down on one knee and and I just been doing more of that, and I can't tell you what that's doing for me. And
you can, because I've been doing that little heart connection going, wow, and I can tell the days that I don't. I'm like, oh God, did I connect to my heart? Oh no, I didn't. I'll be driving down the street and oh God, we need to get connected. It's a game changer for sure. I think when our hearts and our mind are connected, it allows us to flow more smoothly in life, and that's what we want. Life is hard. I mean, we're going to be triggered. We're going to be challenged. We came to have a human experience.
Right.
We need to stop judging ourselves for the human experience we're having. And that's what Native American culture that's taught me to have forgiveness and compassion for myself and how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
No. Have you ever learned something from something that came out of your mouth?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
From just being in tune, and then you gave some advice and you're like,
wow,
where'd that come from? I've just learned something.
Right.
Like it's like I got coached too.
At the same time.
Yes.
Yes.
I was a coach, but I also
learned in the process of that.
That's an interesting thing.
That's what we're here for. And I
Right.
think when we pay attention like that, we're connecting on more of a human level with one another, is like that. You have something to give me.
Right.
Just like you were like, oh, I learned so much. I came up. But it was like, you have something to offer me.
Right.
Too. And that's always the way I look at meeting people.
Yeah.
It's a give and take. We have something to offer and give each other. And that is connection.
I was working. So when I first started my war program, I had this guy cleaning for me. And he was a guy that I worked with. He was an older gentleman, 60, borderline homeless, long-term meth user. He'd gotten pretty sober. I think he was still leaning on weed and other things or whatever. But anyway, I gave him a job to clean the gym, Nice. and I learned so much from this guy. He wasn't, let's say, he was schizophrenic. He wasn't completely there,
Right.
Love the guy. And anyway, he said to me one day, he gave me some advice about my business, and I remember thinking, the ego said,
yes.
This dude, what? And it was like hard advice. He was like, he kind of pissed me off, and I was like, and my first reaction was like, what the hell does this guy know?
What does he have to
I start
me?
talking shit,
Yep.
and then, but I took the advice. And it was beautiful advice. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I started listening to him. I'd give him rides back downtown down here every once a week and drop him back off. And we'd have these, I try to get him into God and just because he'd listen, he'd do anything. But the stuff that he would say to me, like, I was like, wow.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
it just goes back to that. Like,
We sell ourselves short. We sell ourselves short in life. And that's what I've realized. And especially in Native American culture, when you opt out to do things, you sell yourself short. I
Right.
mean, everybody has something to give you, and I don't care who it is.
Right.
You know, the crackhead on the corner. It's like you said, you know, I run into people all over. I'm all over the valley. And I do have those judgments. It's like,
Yeah.
why are you judging, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Why do you even go there? Like, you
Right.
don't know the full story. So I even do it. You know, even after all these years of the work I've done,
Right.
it is just coming back to asking yourself when you're in the process, why are you doing this? Where really are you at? And how do you want to walk in this world? That's my biggest
Yeah.
thing. How do you want to walk in this world?
I love that, dude. How do you want to walk in this world?
And what footprint do you want to leave here?
Right.
So, you know, that's a big reminder. It's like I was telling to you, my kids, this is a good one. Make good choices and remember who you are.
Yeah.
You know, we forget who we are and what we came here to do on this
Yeah.
planet. And we didn't come here to play small. Us addicts and these people who have had a lot of trauma in our lives, we came here to change the game here.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's time to step up and really get it, because when we change the game within ourselves, we help so many people that we don't even know, you know? How do you know going to the store and smiling at that guy or that girl
Right.
didn't make their day?
Right.
And I've actually watch it happen because I observe myself now. I'm like, okay, you're in a good mood. Just go in and be,
Yeah.
you know, and I watch people light up just by who I am.
Right.
Because I'm carrying that, hey, how are you kind of vibe, and not that we carry sometimes when we're
You're right.
moving through life.
Well, it's interesting too, because it's got to be. I think it's all. Do you think it's linked because maybe you've lived two lives? You know, you've lived a life where maybe you weren't as bright, and it took so much work through the like a refiner's fire
Yes.
to become bright. And so now you're like, people look at you and be like, she's lived two lives. Like, and when you talk, 'cause I can tell.
Yeah.
So when you can connect with people, and I say this with, you know, all these guys that come into our program, these guys can jump in.
These cool guys
Yeah.
over here being quiet.
But
They're letting us take the show.
But I think you know, it's interesting because, you know, we talk a lot in here. This whole thing was put together by substance abusers.
Yeah.
Everything was donated.
Right.
You know, Frank over here, recovering heroin addict, LT, alcohol, meth, and I look at the School of Addiction, which we're called the School of Addiction Recovery, and how
Love
like
it.
there are all these dudes who are so valuable. I mean, I remember looking at Frank when I first met him, and I was like, and selfishly, I was thinking this dude could like help me. You know what I mean? Like
Way to go, Frank.
but he could help a lot of
Yeah.
people. He's been to 13 different treatment centers or whatever.
Wow.
He's been, you know, he can relate with kids because he was a punk ass kid.
Right.
You know, and he can relate with the heroin addict. He can relate. So, and then he works a hard program. And so
Yeah.
what he's done now, it's like you said, the people in this population become such a benefit to the world when they walk through the shadows and come out on the other side.
And it is two lives. It is two lives. And coming through that other side and knowing your worth and knowing what you have to offer. It
Right.
really is knowing what you have to offer. I mean,
Right.
I think we sell ourselves short in how powerful we are and what we have to give here.
Right.
You know? It's like you said, this came together from addicts. Doesn't surprise me.
Right.
It really doesn't. You guys are some of the most powerful people I've worked with.
Right.
Because you've been to the depths of hell.
Right.
And been able to come out and go, okay, what next? What do we do now?
Yeah.
And what is our journey now? Because being an addict and living that life does not define who you are. And I
Right.
think that's where a lot of people get stuck and get in that repetitive cycle. You guys have defined it as, wow, that was an experience, and now what are we going to do? What are we going to
Right.
create and, you know, have a new experience on as a result of the depths of hell, you know?
Right. It's just,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. You know, and I'm so thankful for the conversations in recovery.
Yeah.
You know, just like even this conversation, like they're, you know, we get to know each other right away.
Yep.
Because we got to talk about spiritual things. We got to call you out and say, look, dude, why, you're wrong in your thinking. No, you're wrong.
Right. Right.
I got to tell you that you're actually wrong. That's your ego.
Right. Well, we don't have time for the surface bullshit anymore. I don't want to talk to you about how's the weather. Let's get, show me something real. Let's connect. We're here to connect heart to heart. And I look at it as I've wasted a lot of time talking about a lot of bullshit that doesn't make my heart happy.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to connect and make my heart happy, because that's what lights people up. When you talk about all this, it's like, and it just lights people up when you're talking about the passions from your heart.
Yeah.
Rather than the shit we did. Who cares about that,
Yeah.
What's the new stuff? What are we into, What are you doing today? How are you connecting? How are you really?
Yeah, who are you? Yeah.
Right. And if you're having a bad day, it's like, no, I'm having a bad day. I mean, there's really no time to be inauthentic in recovery, because when you're inauthentic, that leads you back to the things that you were doing.
Right.
And so being authentic is the only way in recovery, regardless if you screw up. That's what we're here for, is to be authentic and own your stuff and call each other out. Yeah.
Yeah. I find myself getting insecure, like when I get to like if I'm talking to somebody, because if I'm talking to somebody maybe doesn't understand recovery or doesn't experience the depths of a conversation like this, and then I try and I reveal something about myself that's like, and I'm just like, and I've just had people look at me like, oh, dude, that was heavy, like that was just.
I kind of have a funny story about that.
Yeah, let's hear.
So you know how I work on base. I used to work on base, right? Secret clearance, all that stuff, right? F-35s. I walk up to our QA guy, and he's like, I heard you were doing YouTube stuff. So I just puked all over in recovery. Dude, I was alcoholic and this and that, and his face just turned red. He didn't know, like, is this legal? Are we allowed to talk about this right now?
Yeah.
Are we going to lose our clearances? I was like, see ya.
I do that when people ask me about Utah. Like, I've only lived in Utah for like 3 years, and people used to ask me, why'd you move here? And I used to be like, well, I got a job up here. And then now I'm like, well, you see, I was like a heroin addict and I was homeless. I almost had my foot amputated and I came here to get sober. And then some people are like, wow, congratulations. Like, that's awesome. And then some people are like, okay. I wasn't expecting to hear that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, too much information. I just move on. It's like, and so how's your day? How's the weather?
Yeah.
You are sharing who you are, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
Is share who we are. Yeah, they're afraid to be
People are
authentic.
so scared to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
The honesty is such a big deal. Like I haven't. When I played baseball, right? I was in the Astros organization for a little while. Yeah, and then and I got released. I ended up getting released. I failed a drug test the previous season, and I had gotten hurt. I'd pulled my hamstring in spring training, and I ended up getting released. And then that was what I told everybody. I was like, oh, dude, I just got hurt, but really, I had a horrible season the season before.
Right.
I was a substance abuser, and it wasn't because I got hurt. I was going to get released anyway. I truly believe that now that I'm honest. But But when I came home, everyone thinks like, oh, Dustin's just cool. He was a professional baseball player. You know what I mean? Like he's this. So
he's
but
awesome.
But that kept me so sick because I didn't. I had to put on this front like I'm this dude. When I was actually just this scared individual who really had no confidence and was just so like scared of life.
And I bet you, if you would have said that as opposed to living from that fear,
right,
a whole different picture would have panned out for you.
Right.
Because I've noticed when we're authentic and we're real, even with people that we don't know, sometimes that's the person that's going to help you. That's the person that's going to help you pass that fear. That's why I say we never know of who we're meeting or, we don't know.
Right.
You went left instead of right,
Right.
That's just life. So it's like, why are we not making the most out of everyone we meet, connecting, and no bullshit?
Yeah.
No bullshit. It's like, we don't have time for that anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
that was, back in our 20s.
Yeah. Right.
We're moving on from there.
Yeah. We got to get going.
Especially us that have kids. And I think, what are we teaching our kids, and
Right.
how, even with our neurotic behaviors as sober, there's still some patterns there that we're still undoing. All of that plays a role on what we're doing. That's why my thing is, what kind of footprint, how do you want the world to perceive you, and how do you want to be in this world?
With your mindset, do you find yourself being fearful?
Yes.
Ever?
Yes. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, come in here.
Yeah.
I won't lie. Come in here. I've been, testing the live YouTube and Instagram and doing those kinds of things. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary to get out there and be authentic and just be who you are.
Right.
Because you are going to get rejection. You are going to be like, oh, hey, or this or that. I mean, I'll tell you guys a little story. I just had an experience with this. I lost my cookies. I'll tell you. So I put them in. We did Vision Quest, and I had the honor of putting the men. I've never had that spot, and that was amazing because you light a fire that first day. The fire's held the whole 3 days.
Right.
So in that culture, women are not allowed to be on their moon time, their period time, and I had a woman there that was. Well, it got ugly.
Right.
I'm not going to lie.
Right.
It got ugly. And I walked away from that, and I was totally in tears. I was upset.
Well, was it because...
It was because she did not understand that regardless of what she thought about that time,
Right.
she could not be a part of that. And so she was feeling ostracized, left
I
out,
see.
like I was attacking her.
Right.
And here I'm a leader going,
Right.
trying not to yell back at her and not just be like, oh my God, F you, I'm done,
Right.
So I walked away with that with a lot of, I'm going to say, shame. I'm not even going to lie. There was shame because I knew as a person I didn't deal with that right. So of course I called support, and I'm like, hey, what do you do in this situation? I always find a person that can support me, even if I know I messed up.
Right.
And then I own where I mess up. And I came back and said, you're welcome to come back. Because I told her not to come back, and I even fixed that, said, hey, you're welcome back. It's about owning that and stepping into that, even if you're afraid,
Right.
And when you're holding that kind of spot, I'm sure you're the same. A lot of people look up to you like,
Right.
oh, how could he ever screw up? He's
Right.
perfect. We're human. We make mistakes.
Right.
I think it's when we own it, that's what gives us power, is that when we own our mistake and where did I go wrong? And how could I have done better?
Yeah.
That's where you give yourself power and permission to kind of make mistakes, because that happens to me all the time. But I own it.
Yeah. So you had to you apologize.
Oh yeah, I had to apologize. Right. I had to go back and own what I did wrong. See, and that's where people get hung up. I'm not saying I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't
no
do
way.
anything wrong.
But I realize in saying you're sorry and owning your part frees up your part of the energy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they do, whether they accept it or not. If you know you were in the wrong and you own that, it's for you.
Yes.
The sorry is not for them, it's for you.
It's for your spirit to be whole again.
Yes. And I think that's where people get stopped. I have a daughter who's 16 who will not say sorry. She never has.
Yeah. My wife.
And
I hope she's not listening.
If you get it in the flyby, well, they do flyby. I call them drive-by sorries.
Right.
It's like, well, I was sorry that happened. And then they just keep going. It's like, oh, there's the sorry. Did you catch it? Did you get it?
Right.
They're different. They're not as connected in that compassion of, wow, I really screwed up here. Because it's hard to own that. It's hard to own, man, I screwed up. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we get hung up on ourselves and we go back and use because we don't want to say sorry. We don't want to admit. We don't want to be authentic. But if you have a good support system,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
I think that's interesting. I think it's because once you feel spiritual and you realize that when you don't say sorry or you're holding on to resentment or you felt like you said something bad to someone, and then all of a sudden you don't feel spiritual.
Right.
It hurts.
Yes.
I don't like how I feel.
Yes. It makes you feel like that sick ucky.
Yeah. Like I'm just like, I had one last night. I said something to my wife and my sister, parents-in-law, and they really didn't notice it. I mean, it did make it awkward.
Right.
I did say something that I shouldn't have said, but anyway, I was driving away feeling just stupid and pissed that I said it, and then I just got this feeling. I said my little prayer, and then I got the feeling, just send them a text and say
Right.
sorry. So I did a little group text and sent them a nice text, and they were like, God, they like didn't even realize that it was a big deal. But to me, dude, it was.
Right. And that is for you, because
Right.
a lot of people won't see that, and it doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, when we go to bed at the end of the day, I always am like, no one's worrying about you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So you better be worrying about yourself of, did I
Right.
show up right? Did I not? What do I need to fix? What do I need to forgive myself for before you go to bed?
I
So
found that these days, like, I can't afford to keep tallies in my head about, like, because I used to, like, that was my mindset all the time, where it's like, I'm right or you're wrong or whatever. And these days that'll happen. I have to own up to my stuff. But even if I get into an argument with someone or someone close to me and I still feel like I'm in the right, and like, I'll sometimes bounce it off other people and everyone will agree with me. And but that doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
And it's not my part to like judge their part in it, or whether it
Exactly.
was right or wrong. It's just, I have to own up to what I did.
Yep.
And like try to see it from their perspective, no matter what, no matter if I think they're right or wrong.
Yeah.
And I just can't afford to like keep those tallies in my head where like, well, they messed this up or they're wrong,
Right.
or, I'm still in the right here. Cause like that, regardless, it doesn't matter. And it's for myself. And how, like you were saying, how I want to walk in this world
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
That's called empathy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually, connecting to people and feeling sorry for them, but it doesn't mean you have to agree. It's just like, okay, I get this, and owning your part. That's the biggest thing I've realized, is owning your part. When we don't own our part, that's when our lives get out of control.
You know what? I recognized something cool about you, Stephanie, is here it's a 12-step program, right?
Yeah.
And I totally believe in it. But you've been an addict. You've been affected by addiction.
Oh, yeah.
But you didn't ever do like the recovery. But
Well, I
the
did.
core.
Yeah, you did recover.
I kind of did. I was sent to, I did recovery.
Did you do a 12-step?
I did. I was,
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, you sound
That's
like
how I
you're
know a lot of, I was a very good teenager. So at 15, my parents put me in this program that was all about the 12-step. I had to go to
okay.
SAAA, NAAA.
Right.
So I was very familiar with all the steps, worked them all, had a sponsor.
Right.
I think that as I got older, it didn't resonate with me as much because I was forced at that age.
Right.
Gotcha.
But I knew the process under which I was working under. So I just kind of applied those to my life, It's good stuff. It's all good stuff.
Yeah.
I just think whatever you're learning, if it is enhancing your heart and your mind, it's good stuff. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's good stuff.
So
Yeah.
So yes, I've had a lot of experience with the 12-step program, and
Right.
you know that they actually have, and I can't remember what it's called, but they have a book that is designed around the Native American with the 12 steps. And
Oh, really?
like the East has 4 steps, each direction has 4 steps, and then you work on the steps in that direction.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I should get you a
Yeah.
book, because you might want to incorporate that. It's
Right.
really neat because it's all the same concept. I think these
Yeah.
steps are the same concept in life.
Well, they're principles of truth.
Yes.
I had someone once say to me, the 12 steps are old school, and I didn't understand that, because they're just they're true principles, and principles don't change.
No.
You know what I'm saying? That's
But
like
I
Just
think-
the framework that you look at them can be
Right.
different,
Yes.
but it's the same principles that
Yeah.
carry over.
Yeah, like-
and I really like what you've been saying about your Native American spirituality, because my cousin Julia, that I'm really close to, has been doing sweat lodges for 6 years. She's been doing the sun dances for 5.
Nice.
She's actually just been a supporter the last 4, but
Perfect.
in September she's doing her vision quest, so
Yes.
she can go on the hill.
Yes.
But she's done them in the Dakotas, in Arizona, New Mexico,
Yep.
Indiana. But she said that her partner's uncle uses like the Red Road, which is like a
Yes.
Lakota spiritual practice,
Yes.
as medicine for addiction recovery.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yes. So yeah, that is what we call this way of life, is the Red Road.
Right.
the red road.
The Red Road,
Wow.
yes. It's not an easy path. And I've noticed, the more sun dances, because we've gone to sun dances all over, South Dakota, there in Montana. I've noticed there are a lot of recovering addicts on this road.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's because it takes you to those extremes like we've lived in life.
Right.
And we're hardcore.
Right.
Addicts are hardcore. We don't learn anything the easy way. Oh, is that the hard road? Yeah, I'll take 2 of those, please.
Yeah, right.
So I think in the Native American spirituality, it pushes you mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, that it takes you out of your regular thinking.
Right. Out of self, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Completely out of self. It's like a high you will never feel, I'm sure your cousin has said that. Sundance is like a high. We call it the spiritual high because you're there. You're immersed in that energy for 5 days. I mean, imagine the sweat lodge, but for 5 days, and
Right.
not feeling like that for 5 days, but not being in a lodge.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 hours was enough for me.
That was too much light
How
for
much
you.
can you tell us about those? How much can you tell like about the experience of it?
Of
With
what?
the Sundance.
It is. I can share.
I know. It's
What do
like
you want to know?
Well, I'd like to know just it's like the process. You say you dance and you say you move and there's movement.
This is the way that ceremony is set up. It's a 5-day ceremony, and on the first day we gather a tree, generally a cottonwood.
Right.
We call that the tree of life.
Right.
So when we cut it down, and the virgins cut it, sacred, and we dress this tree up with our prayer ties and prayer flags. So we make this tree just beautiful, and we bring it into the center of an arbor.
Okay.
And in that center, in the hole, certain things are put in that hole,
Right.
like a buffalo heart, chinoopa, some other things, and we lift this tree up. And so if you're sun dancing, you are to stay in that arbor, so it's a round arbor like this, and then there's 402 sticks on the outside, and those are all considered people, and all the sun dancers are on the inside. So once the tree goes up, we go to bed that night, and the next morning is when the 4 days begin. And so you go into a lodge in the morning, you do 2 rounds, so the first 2 rounds of a lodge.
Okay.
You get out, you get dressed, and what we mean by dancing is really we are in a circle around this tree, similar to in the Sundance or in the sweat lodge. Men are on one side, women are on the
Right.
other, and you're more praying. It's about prayer, and you're
Right.
connected to that tree, and you're praying. They do certain things there, in the why we're dancing. So you could dance maybe 3 hours and then get a break. And
Right.
then you'll go dance maybe another 2 or 3 hours, get a break. So you dance all day to almost sundown, and then you go into 2 rounds of a lodge
Oh wow! Right at the end of the
at
day.
the end of the day. So you do that for 4 days.
And then you sleep, obviously.
Yeah, you sleep at night. I guess if you want to call it sleep.
Yeah, right.
You don't really sleep. We call it that in-between time. You're really in a state of, I call it the in-between time of the worlds, of being connected to this world and that. And the energy just comes. You just have that, you have enough for the time.
And there's no water. Like, I mean,
You
a
know,
little bit
I
of water.
wouldn't say no. Yeah, you may get a ladle.
Right.
I mean, you're not hydrating,
Right.
So by the 3rd day, which is the healing day, same as the round, or as the sweat lodge, it's set up the same. The first round, first day is something, second day, that means something. 3rd day is always healing day. You're really in a state of just awe because you
Right.
can't believe you've made it this far with no
Wow.
food or water, And then I usually say it's all uphill from here because you're like, God, I got another day and a half of this, So it's just an incredible journey of yourself.
Right.
And you're not allowed to talk to other people. You're not allowed to talk to the supporters. You're not allowed to talk to male dancers. You're really in prayer for 4 days.
Wow.
And the natives believe that in doing that, you just become wakan is what it's called. It's holy.
Wow.
You're very just pure.
Wow.
And that's why you can't touch other people or talk to the opposite sex or talk to people because you are in that meditative, pure, connected state.
You ever have like visions?
Yes, I've seen people have visions there or, fall in the arbor. Yeah, weird things happen.
Yeah.
Weird things happen when you're in that state and you're in that connected You're the conduit. You allow spirit to move through you.
Right.
And I think when we're that connected, we don't allow ourselves to get in the way. You know
Right.
what I mean? That a thought doesn't come in where you're like, it's just, you just do. It's kind of like when we prepare for those lodges, we are told to do some of the weirdest things. And it's like, really? And we just do them because we know, you know,
Right.
that's just what you do. Or grab this, you know, I go in and clear homes, space clear homes, and clear the energy out. And I'm told to take different things. And I've always questioned, why? When you're aligned like that, your intuition's just right on. And at Sundance, you don't have a time. You're just in that energy
Wow.
that you don't have time to even think.
Wow.
You're not thinking about food and water. And it's like, cool, I'm having a good time. This is good.
You just get into it.
Yeah, you get into the prayer. You get into being connected, even though you do. Yeah, you feel like you're going to die.
Right.
You do, and you lose weight, you know. You're going without food and water and, you know, the
Yeah.
elements. And so it is a test to see how connected you can be.
What do you like after, so that, you know, it ends, and then, you know, does that, what is your
Favorite part when the 4 days and all
yeah,
that's
like when you
done?
get done, yeah.
When I get out of the lodge and I know I'm going to get my kombucha
Right.
or my drink or whatever
Right.
I've requested. Because on the fourth day of the fourth round, you know, you get out of that lodge and you can have anything you want. So people come and support you. So usually my family supports me, and I tell them, this is the list of things I would like the second I come out the lodge.
Right.
And so it used to be Coke when I was drinking Coca-Cola, you
Right.
know. I've gotten a little more healthy now.
Right.
So I'm like, I need a kombucha. Or, you know, you just ask for the things, and you're just excited to share your experience with your family and your friends that have been there for 4 days supporting you, watching you go through all of
Wow.
this. Yeah. Because you're supposed to get people to come and eat and drink and support you while you're going through this experience.
Wow.
So it's all about support. I mean, anything you do in the Native American culture is about support.
How many people are usually doing the dance?
It depends. I go to a smaller dance, and there's about maybe 60 dancers. Last year, I went to the reservation, and there were 300 dancers.
wow.
So, and you're talking thousands of supporters, thousands.
So it's a big event.
It's a big event. It's all about prayer and being connected. Whether you come to support for a day or the 4 days or whatever, they like people to come and support their dancers and show support, because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you got that from the lodge. This is all about support, holding
Right.
each other up, being connected, you know, to one another.
Yeah.
That's all we got down here. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
we got each other down here.
Right. Yeah, we need help.
Yeah, we
that-
do.
That is awesome. Yeah, it seems like the people that were there too would have the same. They're probably. I bet there's some awesome conversations happening.
Amazing conversations. You know, some are out of this world. You know, you're like, oh wow, I didn't know you were into that, and
Yeah.
you know, or you meet someone
Right.
and they're talking about the same exact thing of an experience you just had, you know, a week ago, or yeah, you'd be surprised. People from all over the world come.
All races.
All races,
Right.
all races, all colors, all. At our dance, most dances it's natives only.
Right.
And so we dance. I like the lady Loretta Cook. She goes, we're all mixed up over here. We're black, white, yellow, this color.
Right.
Because they've all intertwined, you know, and then had
Right.
kids. So we practice the Lakota. It's Lakota, but it's Mohawk and Lakota who run that dance.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's all connected, all races, you know.
When's the last time you did a Sundance?
You know, 3 years ago. 3 years ago at the Wild Horse Sanctuary in Hot Springs, South Dakota, and we lost that piece of property to the federal government so they could drill for uranium.
Oh really?
Yes. Dale had owned that property for 30 years. They'd been dancing there 25 years. Yeah, so...
That just piss you off.
yeah, it was very sad, and I realized I had danced that last year that we had the dance there, and the next year they had emailed all of us and said we lost that property.
Doesn't that ground become almost like sacred?
Yes.
Would that ground become
Yes,
like
it is sacred.
ground?
Yes, it is sacred.
Wow.
A lot of prayers, a lot of, you know, suffering and things have happened, you know. So we've moved to the Black Hills, which is very different. And then I went out to Crow Dog's Paradise last year. That was amazing. And that's where there's 300 dancers.
All right, is that where you were? You just supported that
Yeah,
one?
I just
Okay.
supported. I went to 3 Sundances last year and just went to support. I love it. It's food for my soul. It fills me up. And
Do you think I could do it?
yeah, you did the lodge. We'll prep you. We'll get you ready. You know, if
You can
it's
come as a
something-
supporter.
Yeah.
Julia invited me to support in Indiana this September, but I can't just with how busy I am. But she's like, "You'd be there for 5 days. We do 2 sweat lodges a
should.
day, this and that." And I'm like, I can't. But next one I want to go to. But now I'm thinking, like, God, should I just go to this one?
They're holding their Sundance this year.
It's her Vision Quest, so I'm not sure if they're one and the same.
Okay,
or...
no, that's a different. That's where she's going to go and be on the mountain
Okay,
for
yeah.
4 days. But probably doing that because it's not gathering a large group of people because most of the Sundances were canceled this
Right.
last year.
I
There
bet.
was
That's what
only
she
a
said.
couple. Yeah. God, you should try. That would be a great experience for you.
Yeah, she said I could still like go there and they'll have sweat lodges twice a day.
You
so,
should.
yeah.
That's right up what we did, at Tom's, and you were there for the lodge, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's an amazing, incredible experience because you're around like-minded people while
And
you're
I'm just
there.
interested in learning and experiencing because, I'm very familiar with, the 12 steps in the recovery that I
Right.
do. But she said that, she knows a bunch of people that use the Red Road and the Lakota spiritual practice
Yeah.
as medicine for addiction recovery.
Yeah,
And she's
that's
like,
the
there's nothing comparable in, Western medicine at all. So,
I think she's talking about that book.
Okay.
I think it's the Road to Recovery, the Red Road to Recovery or something, but it's actually for Native Americans. And
Yeah.
I think she is because there, like I said, so many addicts and recovery people
Yeah,
on
that's
the
so
reservation
interesting.
and
Yeah.
everywhere where we go. It's like, wow.
Well, it just seems appropriate. I mean, for the addict because I truly believe that what we're talking about is how we get healed.
Yes.
How you get healed. It's like how do you get off heroin? Without an intense immersion into a new spiritual way of life where you can just fill that hole in your
Right.
heart with this like spiritual things. You know what I'm saying? That's people. I mean, getting off heroin, people don't get off
No.
it.
any of it. It's not just about not doing the substance,
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you're bike riding or snowboarding, if you're focusing, I can't hit that tree, you're going to hit it, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
it's the same thing. It's like I can't just be like, I'm not going to drink today, I'm not going to do heroin. You have to positively focus your intentions somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And like whatever that may
And
be.
making a commitment to
Yeah.
that. You're right. It is about intention. That's one thing I'm learning.
Right.
We practice that. What's your intention for being here? What's your intention? And then are you committed to that intention? Are you committed to having a different life? Committed to being present?
Right.
Like you said,
Right.
I think you're very right in the intention part
Right.
of what's your intention,
And I like how the 3, when you're talking about the book in the AA book, it's talking about how, you're not going to do everything perfectly, but the 3 qualities that are indispensable are willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness.
Yep.
And I think that falls right in line with like any of this or
Oh,
the
yeah.
Sundances or the sweat lodge.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you have, if as long as you're carrying those, you can have whatever experience you're
Yep.
going to have.
Yep.
It's crazy. Remember how negative I was before the sweat lodge?
I do remember.
Well,
You kept trying to get out of
but
it.
this is it's like
I'm not going.
it's a consistent theme in my life when I'm about to experience something beautiful. I get negative, and that lodge, that was a beautiful thing for me. It led me into that trip with my son, and a lot of people may think that's stupid that I was working so hard to get ready for that trip with my son. It was a vacation.
No.
I should be, but
It makes sense.
But trying to just drop the world,
Yep.
I'm working so much, and I just said, and I just had this spiritual experience with my son and I believe that helped me,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
do too. Yeah.
And so it was crazy, but I can see, but it's such a, tell me if that's a true, that happens to you guys. Anything that I'm about to experience that's going to be beautiful, I'm usually an asshole before it, or I'm experiencing negative feelings about it.
I usually I'm I'm the same way when I don't want to go to a meeting or whatever, right? I
Yeah.
get that same attitude and I use that. I'm like, okay, this is obvious sign that you should go.
Yep.
I often find a resistance in my life to doing things that I know are going to be good for me.
Oh, right.
So whether or not it's eating healthy or even training here in the gym or meditating or doing
Yep.
things like that, there's like the first thought is usually, the ego or like whatever part of me is trying to push back, but it's usually like, oh, you don't want to do this. It's going to be hard or blah, blah, blah. And I usually find this resistance always to doing things that I know are going to be helpful or beneficial to my life, my spirit, my mind, whatever. And I just have to push through that first part, and then it's always gratitude afterwards.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
I think we need to get more excited about our lives.
Yeah.
You know, that's
You're here. This is it. You're experiencing it.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm learning, when I go to work, because I clean houses for a living. It's like, make cleaning toilets fun.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you're doing, make it fun. And I've been bringing that back into my life, really getting excited about my life and what I'm doing and the things I'm doing. And even if it's shifting or if it's not the best, it's like, okay, why is this happening? How did I call this in for myself? And why am I having this experience? Because that's what we do. You're right about the mindset. If you say you're going to hit that tree, you're going to hit that tree.
Right.
So what are the thoughts going through our the thoughts going through our head during the day when we have to live life? A lot of them are not like, woohoo. They're like, yeah.
Right.
I notice getting excited shifts that all.
Yeah.
Shifts it all. And I've been getting more excited, even when it's a shit show.
Right.
I mean, I took my whole family camping, shit show. And we got back and I go, so what did we learn? And everyone's like, you thought that was a good trip? I go, it was a great trip. I go, regardless that everyone was screaming and yelling and fighting and crying and people wanted to go home, I go, you've got to look at what you learned in the process, in the experience of that, and take that. Yeah. And I'm like, in the end, we all did pretty good. No one left and no one died. So I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, dude. I love that you just said that. That helps me because I always share this, but it's like I take my kids on a backpacking trip with my wife, and I was actually dreading it. I was like, I do not want to do this.
Right.
Because it's going to be a lot of work. They're 5 and 7.
Yeah.
And we're hiking in. I gotta set up the tent.
I'm in charge of everything.
Yeah. And I remember thinking throughout the trip, this sucks. I remember getting negative at one point. But guess what my greatest memory is? That trip.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, fun is linked to challenge.
If we make it.
Yeah, so your trip, it was hard during it, but it was actually fun.
Yeah. You got to look at, I think we've had so many bad experiences in our lives that's what we look at, because we have come from this place of, well, if I do this, I don't know, is that the right choice? If we make it fun and we're living from our hearts and our passions, of course it's going to work out.
Right.
We're not in that shitty mindset. We're connected. We're like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. I think if you have kids or life in general, it's work. I don't care if you don't have kids. That's probably harder because there is, with kids, you got this distraction of I've got to take care of them. I've got to do this. With no kids, it's like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah,
I could get in a lot of trouble here. Right. So, I just think it is being conscious of what are we doing throughout our days? How are we spending our time? Is it productive? What are we putting in our minds and our bodies? It's hard to be conscious all day, every day, when we've been checked out and unconscious. Yeah. It's a lot of work now, but I swear the more practice you get, the funner it really does become fun, even when it's like, oh shit, I gotta deal with that. Even if you're in an argument, it's like, oh well, yeah, I didn't let that affect me today.
Yeah.
We'll deal with that later because that's not on my radar for today.
I like what you were saying about how you can carry that mindset into everything. So you clean houses and you're like, oh, I'm cleaning this toilet. How can I make this a good experience?
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of what Dustin says all the time, where when you're doing chores or things you don't want to do, and you sell it to yourself as an opportunity for a spiritual experience.
Yep.
So if your wife asks you to fold the laundry, instead of being like, you're like, no, I can sit here, I can be present, I can fold the laundry. It's a spiritual experience, and it immediately flips, right?
Yeah. It does, yeah.
So how do you want to react to life? Because life's going to happen either way, so how are we going to react to it?
And I think the other thing is being honest. Sometimes it's like, hey, I don't want to do the laundry right now. Can I come and do it in 10 minutes? I think it's honoring where we're at, too. I think we feel a certain need to show up a certain way or be a certain way. It's like I said, at the end of the day, you got to honor yourself. If you're not in that mindset, hey, I'm not, can I do it in 10? Or, it's really honoring ourselves. It's like we said in the lodge, if you need to get out, get back in. I don't know what you need.
Right.
Or these two guys need to be taken care of. All I know is what I need and my experience So it's really of their own accord, but you've got to be honest in your own experience. Like, I just can't do that right at this moment.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I want to, but give me a minute and I'll be way more excited in 5 minutes
Yeah.
to do that favor for you.
Yeah, I love that because I get like that where and then but the thing is if you don't want to do something, like maybe I'm not proactive dad of the year at this moment. I do that with
Wow.
Yeah. But then when my mind goes to jealousy and comparisons, like, well, look at that dad over there. My brother-in-law is way better at, and then I start getting pissed off at my brother-in-law because he's a better. I'm saying in my mind he's a better dad.
Right.
And I'm trying to learn, just like, all right, man, I'm just not in the mood, kids. I'm gonna lay here by the pool for a minute. I'll get in 20 minutes, but right now I want to take a little nap.
I will share something with you that has really helped me as a parent. You're not the best dad and you're not the worst dad.
Right.
You're the perfect dad for those kids.
Right.
And you need to remind yourself, because we do as parents, we judge. It's like when I'm like that, it's like, oh, no, I'm the perfect mom for them, whatever. I'm lying here for 20 more minutes by the pool,
Right.
and you guys can do your thing.
Right.
So remind yourself, you're the
I like
perfect dad
that.
for them.
I like that.
You're not the best dad and you're not the worst dad. I had to use that saying for a long time. Okay, you're not the best mom, but you're not the worst mom,
Right.
But I'm the perfect mom for my children.
Wow.
And that took a lot of that judging on myself of how I was showing up in my family
Wow.
away from myself. Because I think we're really hard on ourselves as parents. Because
Yeah.
we want better. We want better than what we had.
Right.
And I know you're like that. You're like, hey, I'm sober. I want the best life for them. Yeah. So not feeling it right now.
Yeah.
Like 30 more
I
minutes.
don't want to get in the pool.
Right. I'm always like, 5 minutes. That's all I need is 5 minutes. Okay.
Right. Wow, that's good.
So
advice.
yeah. So remember that when you're
Yeah.
cruising around.
How many
but
kids you have?
I have 2.
You have 2.
20, a 20-year-old and 16-year-old.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm almost done.
Right.
Life's about to begin again.
I got it too. We just had a little baby.
Oh,
so
God, you're brand
I'm
new.
40. Well, I got a 13-year-old and
jeez.
an 11-year-old
And a
and
baby?
a 2-year-old.
Did you start over? Was there like a moment going, I think if we have a baby, this will...
Well, yeah. So I don't know what happened. My wife.
That's
My wife
complex.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And we just decided to have another baby, and it's honestly been the best blessing
Yeah.
for our marriage and my
Yeah.
life. But it's a trip because me and my wife are always saying, we're like, dude, if we didn't have a kid like this baby, we wouldn't have to do anything.
No.
Because the other two are just
Yeah.
they're at that age where they're with their friends all the time.
Yeah, it's great. It's
But-
great. I'm telling you, it's great.
but
But I bet you in your recovery, it's kind of put some things
Yeah.
back into
Oh,
perspective
yeah.
for you.
That's exactly what it did. My other 2 kids, at the early age, I was high.
Right.
And so it's been good. Like the birth of my little baby, and I was in a good place, and
Totally
you know what
present
I'm saying?
and they're
Right.
more connected
Right.
and aware
Right.
of what they're going through. And
Right.
yeah,
It
that's
was-
so cool.
It's been awesome, and seeing my other 2 older kids play with the baby, and just that, and it's just
Built-in babysitters.
Oh yeah. Right.
Let's go out and have dinner. Everybody's got everybody.
Right.
That's great. That is really
Well,
great.
dude, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having
I
me.
learned so much from you.
Awesome.
And we want to have you on again.
Awesome.
I don't know, because I think a lot of people could learn from you.
Okay.
On this podcast and our
Cool.
groups and stuff. So
Open for it.
it's been awesome, dude. I appreciate it.
Those
And also,
guys
I
are
think we're
great.
looking at doing another
Yeah,
lodge
like
of
in the
Tom.
next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Either at the end of September or in October. It'd be great if you're
Cool.
there
Yeah.
for that experience too.
Yeah.
And we offer other things. I don't know if you guys knew.
No,
we're
tell us.
we do everything. What do you need? What kind of services do you guys need? We offer a connected breath. It's called a grandfather connected breath, and you breathe for about an hour,
Oh wow.
and lots happens and comes up. And
Could you come up here and run
yeah,
that?
yeah, for sure. Yes, we could. What I like about that is it's all just breathing. And people just go, whoa, that's through breathing. It's like, uh-huh. And so you breathe in and out of your mouth for about an hour, and you would be surprised. We've had people scream, people yell, hit pillows. You know, they come in with these heavy hearts, and when they leave, they're like, yeah, that was good.
Right.
So it's, you know, we're about the release. That's really what I really focus on, is getting people in a place of releasing, so you can bring in that love. You can
Right.
bring in that peace. That's what the lodge does. You release that
Right.
PTSD, fearful feeling, and then you're able to bring in the clarity, the peace, the love. So we offer that too. So
Wow.
there's lots we
Yeah.
offer.
No, we are. I mean, we're planning on making it, you know, like pretty much a part of our program,
Cool.
where, you know, we're 90 days, and so every person gets to have that experience when they of the lodge. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, we're very interested.
And we'll make that available. We'll
Yeah.
make, you know, we'll do one-on-one breaths. We'll do group breaths. We'll make what
Right.
needs to be available to this facility, honestly. I mean, I just think you guys are incredible guys, all of you
Yeah.
guys. I mean, just come in
you.
here. I didn't know.
You
I
get-
thought LT was just, you know, recording off a phone over there. I had no clue he was all. So yeah, I'm in the line of service
Yeah.
and offering that for people who are serious about their lives.
And you need to come up here and train with us one day.
Okay,
That'd be fun.
I would be. I'm probably gonna die because I've been eating like a teenager
Yeah.
and doing nothing, and it's been a good summer.
I'm pretty sure if you can handle 4 days dancing, you could,
Yeah,
you
that's
could, you could
a
handle it.
little more. But I would love to. Yes,
Yeah,
this has been
yeah.
awesome to hang out with you, cool guys.
yeah.
And like I said, I tend to find myself like. The recovering addicts tend to find me, and those are
Right.
the people I like to work with.
Yeah.
There's a willingness inside of them that you don't see on people who are like, oh, I just want to do a lodge and have an experience, or I just want to come do this, or
Yeah.
there's a difference with these
Right.
people who want to live
Right.
and who want to have a different life. Yeah, want to live and want to have a different life. And I just think it's so fucking cool. Can I say
Yeah.
that? Because you guys inspire me, you know, to be
Right.
different in my life and to soar higher
Right.
in a sense, because I know that your guys' roads has probably been a lot harder
Right.
than mine, you know? I've had my fair share, but when I look at people, it's like, wow. When I
Right.
know their full story, it's
Right.
like, wow. I just commend you guys. You guys are
Thanks.
amazing.
You are too. I appreciate it.
Amazing
Awesome
people.
getting to know you.
Yeah, so
And,
much fun.
So yeah, dude, we're excited. And so, do you have an Instagram or anything?
I do.
Yeah, what's your
It's,
Instagram?
Stephanie._.s.
Okay,
So
nice.
my picture will be up there.
Yeah, and then we need to get a picture LT before she leaves.
100%.
You know?
Yes, we'll have a photo shoot. I
Yeah.
heard.
Well, awesome. Thank you for coming on the
Thank you
show.
for having me.
Appreciate
I'll
it.
come back anytime, hang out with you guys. This is a great place. You guys are doing some good
Yeah,
work.
thank you.
I'm just so excited to know people like you
Yeah.
and to know that there's more people getting on board to empower their lives and empower themselves,
Yeah.
because that's what this is about.
Right.
Empowering ourselves, helping other people, spreading our light to other
Right.
people, and the knowledge we have.
Right.
You know, you have knowledge, I have knowledge, these guys have knowledge.
Right.
So I'm all about getting that out there.
Yeah,
So
nice.
yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Frank, LT, love everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
See ya.